See Brown in your face.
Have you heard of Everything at Once?
Do you know about Everything at Once?
It's internationally known.
Aliens listen to it.
It's the best ever.
If there's something you're looking for in the 814, or feeling a little bored and think there ain't no more, check out Everything at Once and allow it to be your source. It's that raw podcast that's always showing support, highlighting the scene. No need to take I-90 to Peep or 79 to see how it be. Interviewing your locals with mindsets that are global. Innovators and creators on every single upload. So much going on in the EPA.
Incredible content.
Everything at Once will keep you up to date.
Amazing guests.
What you doing? Come through and hang with Tony and Dave.
Community driven.
Bringing everything at once from around the way. Everything at once from around the way. Hey.
Please listen. We love you. Everything at Once.
Everything at Once.
It's time to introduce this show.
The best show on the face of the planet.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in today. We want to thank our Patreon producers, Brian G., Josh W., Ian D., Nick G., and Sadie M.
Patreon, it's an awesome way to support the show and say thanks. You can become a Patreon supporter by clicking the link below and choosing to be an intern, assistant, or producer level supporter.
If being on the production team is too much pressure for you, you can also send any contributions using our Venmo at Everything at Once Studios. We now want to thank all the local businesses who supported this episode. These businesses get the Everything at Once stamp of approval and are critical members of the Everything at Once community. We couldn't do it without them. With winter approaching, are there any last-minute details that you want to change or renovate around your home?
I might, but you know who to call.
Yeah! Ghostbusters!
No, Tony. No, not Ghostbusters. Solid State Construction.
Oh, yeah. Solid State.
Yeah.
Duh. Solid State takes pride in all their home remodeling projects. Solid State specializes in bathroom remodeling, kitchen renovation, window and door installation, custom design work, and more, including painting, flooring, drywall, sidewalk, decks. Get your free quote today by calling Nick at 814-397-7854. Solid people, solid product, solid state construction.
You know, Tony, with all these renovations from Solid State, I think we might have kicked up some bad energy around here. Yeah, oh yeah. Luckily, we know just the people to go see.
I know it this time. It's Ghostbusters.
No, Tony! Our friends at Cauldron and Thorne!
Wow. I feel really dumb right now, and I can't believe I didn't think of Cauldron and Thorne, the world's largest witchcraft and metaphysical shop, with everything a person needs to channel the spirit world.
Practice some self-care.
Find enlightenment.
Curse your enemies.
Protect yourself from your enemies.
Bless your friends.
Cleanse your space from negative energies. You can check out all the magical wares available at for these different practices we all love and enjoy at Cauldron and Thorne, 2724 West 8th Street, or online at cauldronandthorne.com.
This week, we have an incredible guest for you.
It's on. Welcome to the studio. We got Adam and Michael from MAW Productions. These guys over here made it all the way out from Warren. I bet you all didn't know that Warren has a production company that's making short films and doing other fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. I don't know who MAW Productions is. We're the MAW Filmworks company.
MAW Filmworks. I'm the worst host ever. When I mess up another people's names that come in to visit us, I feel bad. There's so many productions and studios and Filmworks and all of these different things that are all generally the same, but everybody kind of picks their own flavor of how they want to present themselves, you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's actually a story how we ended up at Filmworks.
How's that?
Mostly because we were MAW Studios at first. Well, at first we were Mike and Andy Studios. There was another guy who's less involved these days named Andrew Hulse. He might see this. Hi, Andrew.
Yo, what up?
So when we brought in a third guy, Wes Cochran, MAW was our nickname, so our initials.
Yeah.
So we kept that, and then we were MAW Studios. and then there was a furniture company in Rochester called MAW Studios. So I was like, all right, well, I guess we're MAW Productions then. And we were that for a little while, and there was a furniture company, not in Rochester, this one was in Albany, called MAW Productions. And I was just like, I'm so tired of trying to come up with a name that nobody else has. And I was sitting there playing a video game called The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion at the time, made by Bethesda Softworks. And I looked at the name Softworks, and I was like, Filmworks. That's what we are, because nobody else has that.
Right.
MAW Filmworks. So
That would be a tragic coincidence if there's another furniture company named MAW Filmworks. That would be kind of out of left field.
Well,
We're good for that.
We did have another studio pop up down in the Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania area. Who they called themselves Middle of Nowhere Filmworks, or MOW, because I guess nowhere.
Yeah.
That didn't last very long, and it was malicious on his part for calling it that. But
Really?
Yeah, it didn't last very long. I'm not going to go into that story.
No,
here,
sure,
but-
you don't need to. I can't believe that two furniture stores want to call themselves MAW. I feel like that's not a furniture-y name, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't get it either. I was just, and it's also, they were both in upstate. Well, I don't know if you count Rochester as upstate or not. I think Albany would be.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they're like, man, two in New York State, and they're both furniture companies.
Yeah, so weird. So you guys have been at this for a couple years now, at least long enough to go through a few name changes.
More than a couple of years now. Andrew and I started in 1998, but we were just 8-year-old kids, and it wasn't organized then. We didn't actually organize the first time until 2007.
Sure.
And we've been through several organizations since then, because we, in the middle between being what would eventually be MAW Filmworks and what we are now, the MAW Filmworks Company, there was another organization, MAW Media Works, because we thought, we don't really do a lot of film stuff, so let's just do all the other media stuff. And then we stopped doing basically all the other media stuff and concentrated entirely on film.
Okay.
But when we decided to reincorporate and bring Adam on board here, I was just like, you know what, we're going back to Filmworks. We're going to get back to what we actually do, what made us us.
Cool. That's great. It's good to have that identity and know what we are. That's one of the things that I like about our name, Everything at Once. It was just Everything at Once first, and then we threw on studios because I started doing some photography and some other things, and I feel like it all kind of goes under the umbrella of Everything at Once. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It doesn't have like a solid foundational identity. It's Everything at Once. You know what I mean? Whatever it wants to be or whatever it needs to be. And as time has gone on, we've like kind of refined that identity of who we are and what we do. And I think that's like a big part of the whole process of like having a company or a business or whatever, is figuring out what it is you really want to do. You know, not even just a business, just like in life, you know what I mean? Your own personal identity. You want to figure out what it is that you're trying to do that makes you happy, that you're able to, you know, support yourself and find value and find purpose in. And this, just like in real life, this business has like progressed and transformed and changed a little bit over time. It sounds like you guys are pretty set on doing films now, though.
I mean, ultimately, that's really what we're trying to do, is kind of launch our own films. Recently, ever since the fire, which we might talk about here in a little bit.
Sure.
We've had to transition into more advertising stuff just to kind of recoup the losses from the fire.
Yeah.
Not really what I saw us doing, but we do well enough at it. People pay us to do it, and I'm just like, okay,
That's
why not?
awesome.
Let's make it happen.
Honestly, it's film. It's film. We're filming people's, companies and telling their stories. It's still film.
No, it's definitely film. And I would, if anybody asked me to make any sort of corporate or commercial film, I would be first in line to go out and do it for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just haven't really had that opportunity yet. But hopefully, as we grow and get more name recognition and more brand and build a bit more of a reputation, I think that those jobs will start to come. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, advertising is fun, honestly. You get to put someone's product or idea or vision into a visual medium. It's great. You know, I was working with a Corvette. It was a Corvette, right?
Yeah.
you can tell I'm the car guy. Corvette, yeah. So we're taking all the shots of it and having them rev their engine. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It might not be a feature film, but it's 30 seconds of pure bliss.
Right. No, I totally agree, and I think that it's a lot of fun writing copy. We do have like sponsors and advertisements in that regard. They're pretty simple, but we always had like a really good time writing what we were going to say and how we were going to promote these people and how we were going to present it in a positive way that reflects well on the people that want to put their name on our podcast. You know what I mean? So I completely understand what you're saying, and I think that any sort of way that you can bring your own flavor, your own creativity to a project is like a net win. You know what I mean? That's why we got involved in this, because we wanted to find a way to express ourselves, and we're using our expression of ourselves to promote other people or to make videos or whatever it is for whoever it is, for a car, for a company, for whatever's going on. So
and then there's that moment you get when you turn in your final product and it's something they couldn't even imagine, because they're not filmmakers. They've got vision of their own, but it's not they don't think in that visual medium, so they oh wow, this is the best thing ever. That feels great.
Yeah, love it. For sure. Whenever I'm presenting photographs for clients, that's something I do fairly regularly. My favorite part is always like letting them see the finished product, because I can see the finished product like as I'm taking pictures and stuff with them in my head. I'm like, oh my God, these are going to be so amazing. You guys are going to love these. And then when I finally get to give it to them, they're like, wow, yeah, these are incredible. You know what I mean? These are amazing. We didn't imagine this. We didn't picture it, think like looking the way that these look. And I totally agree. Making people happy and presenting a polished, nice product at the end has like tremendous personal value and satisfaction.
Exactly. Well said.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So besides the commercial endeavors, you guys have worked on a couple of your own personal pet projects as well.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a few at this point, yeah. We have numerous, I guess, properties, if you want to call it that. The one we produced the most in so far is a sub-series called Howitzer Tales, which, depending on what year the project came out, can be set in any number of settings. Most of them set in a semi-post-apocalyptic setting. It's not really meant to be a copy or a love letter of anything else, but rather the way I see the world, which is essentially a fundamentally ugly world filled with awesome people and awesome stories.
Great.
So I kind of just wanted to apply a visual medium to that. There have been other variants of Howitzer Tales throughout the years, depending on when they came out. When we first formed in 2007, that was the project that we formed around, was the first iteration of that. And that never ended up seeing the light of day because we were a bunch of 17-year-olds, but,
Right. No, I totally get that.
And these days we've got another project rolling out. It's called Awesome McCoolname, which is Adam, you take this one. It's your baby.
Okay. So basically, Awesome McCoolname is a love letter to like the 1930s golden age of cinema serials. So you had Flash Gordon, you had Batman. Every single time you'd get about a half-hour mini-sode of just this ongoing story, and they always ended up almost dying at the end or something like that. So it was campy, it was fun. I never regret watching it, even as I was a kid. So with that in mind, I was looking at Howitzer Tales, because honestly, the reason why you don't see a whole lot of content coming out is because we're very high concept. Howitzer Tales can be a very high concept idea, and we only make so much in a single paycheck,
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally get it.
Yeah, so with Awesome McCoolname, I'm looking at these sets and stuff like that and these old black and white serials, and I'm like, we've got ourselves a serialized dollar show here. They're using cardboard sets. That it's really the bare minimum, but it's still entertaining. It's still fun. So I wanted to create something based off of where I started, which was sci-fi and, especially old science fiction. And just kind of go from there. But it turned into a love letter parody of that genre. Mm-hmm. And it honestly started out with like someone underneath a table pretending they're in a spaceship, the whole 9 yards. But there has been such an outpouring, not only from people I shop the idea to, but the cast, the crew, everyone's pitching in to try and make this the best damn show it can possibly be.
Right.
We went from like a black blanket over a table and this person pretending to, work with a joystick to a full set. Mm-hmm. And it's
now with an even more complex set on the way.
Exactly.
That's great.
Someone actually straight off the block in Sheffield.
Sheffield.
Yep. Straight off the block in Sheffield actually is giving us some space to do with what we need to.
Amazing.
For sets. Yeah. Oh yeah. We don't have space.
Us either.
Yeah. So
I mean, we got down here, but that limits what you're able to do. And with our last one, we really wanted to get something that people aren't quite so familiar with. So having like a space that's not, my house or my driveway, backyard, tree house, whatever, is really important and really nice.
Really, really nice. Really needed in what we do. So McCoolname started out as this tiny idea, but it keeps growing. So I think it's another one that's on the verge of being high concept, but I'm keeping it tempered because honestly, the temperament, keeping it tempered keeps it what I want it to be, which is that love letter to the 1930s, to Flash Gordon, to the old laser guns and stuff like that. I just think it's going to be real neat. I mean, we've already legit created this film once already before fire. Of course, it burned in the fire, so it's just gone. But now we're doing it again, and it's going to be good. It's going to be real good.
I'm excited. I got to watch one of the older ones, and I thought it was really fun. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I think I shared. It was like a 5-minute preview, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So nobody else apart from you, me, and a couple other people associated with the studio and him have seen that yet.
Yeah.
Exclusive podcaster perks.
Well, we had discussed kind of premiering that for the world in this podcast. I don't know if that's something.
If we want to, we can put it in there.
Okay.
Yeah, in editing and post, we'll have everybody watch it right now. Y'all enjoy.
And now monitoring the cosmos for trouble. Awesome. It's taking so long. I'm having trouble monitoring the cosmos for trouble.
It's a noob.
What? It's hard.
Well, keep on it then. Trouble could be lurking around any corner out here.
Well, what's that?
That would be trouble.
It's the communicator, Captain.
Thank you, Ensign. This is Captain Austin McCoolname of the ECS Pathfinder. How can I help you?
Good to see your face, Awesome.
General Blind Spot, sir. To what do I owe the pleasure?
You're just the man for this mission. I just received a call from Titan. A research center in the Titanian jungle has come under attack by former council member Max Level.
Max Level? Everyone back on Earth said he was a humanitarian.
Come now, Captain. You know they're all pure evil.
That may be so, but I always hoped Max would be different.
They're all the same. I've seen what a humanitarian can do when they are pushed to their limits, Captain.
Copy that, General. You happen to have the coordinates to that research lab?
Sending them now. Godspeed.
Crewman Noob, if you could be so kind as to close up all the hatches and prepare us for a hypersonic warp jump, it would be greatly appreciated.
You got it, Awesome.
We're heading to Titan. Let's make it awesome.
Is that what we're going with?
And we're back.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was
movie
a really-
magic, right?
That was a really cool.
really
That
cool
was a
and
really
quick.
cool 5
Yeah,
minutes right
I
there.
loved it. It's super fun, and I want to do more projects similar to that in the aspect of it being simple and not being a huge thing like what we just went through for KARANORMAL. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
they both, I think, are on the same page in regards to that, as not doing anything completely overwhelming and beyond the scope of our current understanding, because we really didn't know what we were getting into when we went. Well, we had somewhat of an idea, and we knew it would be a lot, but we had no idea how much actually was going to go into the creation of this. And one of our goals when we started out was like, yeah, keep the cast small, keep it simple, keep it like one primary set location that we can do a few different things at. And it just kind of, I mean, we wanted to do it justice, and in order to do it justice, we needed a lot more than what we had originally thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those simpler concepts, like the one we just watched, are really fun and interesting to me. And I think that makes it a lot more feasible financially, as far as like time budgeting goes and people budgeting goes and all of those things. It just makes it a lot more feasible and easier to not only produce but to consume for people as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree. Adam over here has this thing where he's like, oh, it borders on being high concept. He's like, it's not high concept. That's okay. He doesn't have to do the post-production.
Right.
That's true.
I know
That's
what you
true.
mean.
Yeah, neither do I.
Yep.
No, it's good, and we try to keep our special effects to like a bare minimum because I'm not super proficient in editing and stuff. I mean, I think we did a great job with how it turned out, especially with the most recent changes that we've made, and we're all done with like on my end of production, and now it's off to our sound guy, Matt Bolin, who is going to make sure that everything sounds great and it has a backtrack and sound effects and all of those kinds of things that you can't really capture in the moment during production.
Yeah.
But we're really excited and we're super pumped. And I like the idea of having a series running too. You know what I mean? Because KARANORMAL is pretty much like a one and done. We talked about a few goofy spin-offs during production, but I don't think any of them will really stick. But having something that's episodic and can continue to be produced and stuff, I think is really smart, because I think it allows it to evolve at a gradual pace that's nice and comfy cozy for the audience and comfy cozy for you guys and at your own speed. So, you know, cheers to you for being smart about this project.
Well, Adam has this thing about turning every movie project I ever come up with into a series, and we constantly butt heads on that because with Howitzer Tales, don't see it that way. But I'm also burnt out on that project, and I handed it off to him, and I said, "Do what you want with it creatively. Let's see what you come up with."
Yeah.
So,
It's true,
so it's a
though.
series
It's
again
true.
now.
I have very much a long form mindset. Like
Sure.
I can never tell a perfect story in an hour and a half in my own head. Like I want everyone's stories to be told at all times. Like, and it takes, time to do that, and you get that with television episodic type shows. So that's where my background comes from. That's what I studied and things like that. So that's, I guess, where my mindset is. But with Awesome McCoolname, it's definitely more of this is strictly supposed to be one thing. Howitzer Tales could be one of a million things. So once we get on once we're in a place where we can afford, Howitzer Tales, or afford that, major motion picture, pull the trigger on that. So
Yeah. I mean, that's the dream, right? You keep building and you keep going until you're at your goals, and then you need to find new goals.
Exactly.
But I completely agree. I think that that's part of why we started, or part of our philosophy behind starting this podcast, was to have long form conversations with people rather than just the clickbaity 2-minute Instagram, TikTok, Reels, or however you want to consume your media. And to actually sit down and get to know people and get an understanding for people, rather than just the 2 seconds of elevator talk that you can pitch in other forms of media. And not to say that doesn't have its own value, because I think KARANORMAL could have been a series or a 2.5 hour movie, probably. I feel like it could have, if we would have written it differently, but that's not what we wanted. And that was part of Dave's our writer. He wrote KARANORMAL. He wrote an amazing script. It's beautiful. It's genius. And part of that process between us and in his own writing process, I'm sure, was making cuts to what's important, what's going to carry the story along, what is concise enough, and how do we get this message across in not quite as short of amount of time as possible, but still telling the story and the narrative and creating that drama.
I like keeping things open for interpretation. I like reading. I do long books. But as far as what I consume visually, I like open ends. That's why I like for books too. I like stories that end without a real strong conclusive, this is exactly what happened. That's why I enjoy movies. Every once in a while, I like getting into all the details about every. Yeah, there it is. There it is.
No, leave it like that.
I got it. Anyways, yeah. What was that?
I like that. I like that in movies too, that it can't go into depth and it leaves you to create your own portion of the story too. You know what I mean? One that I think does it really well is the Dune series, the new movies.
Yeah.
I had read the books a long time ago, greatly enjoyed them, loved them, thought they were fantastic.
Same.
And I think that the movie leaves out a lot, but leaves the audience's room to interpret or to fill in that missing part in a way that makes sense to them. And I think that's one of the really cool parts about doing a book into a movie when it's done well, like that one has been, I think.
Yeah, and Dune, I don't know if you look into it, but the 1970s, the miniseries, all the things that came before.
A little
Dune
bit, not
was
much
considered, though. Yeah, but Dune was considered the unfilmable series. Like, you couldn't get all the information from the books transferred into the movies. And honestly, I think the new movies have really shown that you can.
Right.
There's still stuff that's cut, but having read the books and watched the movies, it's not really the meat and potatoes. Like, it's really well done.
Yeah. And I agree completely, because I think that the books leave a lot, or the movies leave a lot of the political drama out, which I personally greatly enjoyed. All of the backstory and the drama and the tension that's built, but I feel like the movie does a very good job of still building that tension, but in a more concise way that allows the audience to interpret, like, oh, why is this happening? I understand from this A, B, and C, and kind of putting those pieces together rather than having it all spelled out like it is in the book.
I won't watch a movie if I've read the book first. I never like the movie as much as the book. Because you get the idea, like, you already have an idea in your head of what all these people are. And it's just slightly different from everybody. Like, we're all just hallucinating, looking at pieces of paper, you know, and like when it's just put in front of you, it's like, that's not how it's supposed to be.
That's not how that person looked.
Like, something...
Exactly.
I get fought on this by everybody, so you guys can feel free to fight me. I love the Lord of the Rings books. I do not like the movies.
Nope, I'm in that boat. I
like the movies. I didn't read the books.
I've
read the Hobbit book. I didn't care for the Hobbit movies.
I like the books and the movies, but I think one of the things that's really big for me in whether or not I like a movie interpretation of a book is the amount of time since I've read the book. You know what I mean? If I just read the book and then watched the movie, I'm like, oh, this is fucked. Nobody is acting or being or looking the way that I imagine them in my head. Couldn't they have got somebody else? But if it's been long enough for my memory to deteriorate a little bit about the book and for it to, you know, pop those little member berries in my brain, like, oh, I remember this part. Oh, I remember this character and how they are and how they act. And it's, you know, similar enough to get those feelings of nostalgia. I think that I can enjoy the books or enjoy the movies a lot.
I remember one example that I can think of, kind of in another direction there. A lot of people like this. I actually didn't like this one. Was the sixth Harry Potter movie, the Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince?
Sure, that was one of my favorite Harry Potter books.
Yeah, did you watch the movie and go? Yeah. It's almost like they made a completely different movie with vague similarities and plot points.
For sure.
And I think some of that actually worked because they just looked at the book and just said, now let's just do something else for most of it. So
yeah, another recent one is, it's not a book, but it's a TV show, live action interpretation, is Avatar: Last Airbender.
Haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, so I love the animated series, always have since I was a young lad. And in preparation for the live action, I watched the series, which was probably one of the worst decisions. I think I would have liked it more if I wasn't so fresh on how the story went when I watched the live action.
I always think of like one of the most famous examples would be like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I love Ken Kesey. I love his writing. He's one of my favorite novelists. But like, he hated the movie because it was told from McMurphy's point of view instead of the Indians. But you can't really do that in a movie because the whole way up until the end, they think he's deaf and dumb. You know, so, but like, that's why he hated the movie. He would not watch it. He was like, this is not how I intended the story to be told. It just reminds me of the Harry Potter thing. It's like, yeah, we got the construct, but we're going to do it totally differently.
Right. The Shining had that problem too. The original
I love the
classic.
book.
Yeah. Stephen King was not a fan of the original movie. He recognizes that it's a good movie. He recognizes that they did a really good job. It won awards. Like, obviously, it's a great piece of cinema. He doesn't like it, though, from the perspective of a writer. That's why the miniseries was created for it.
Right.
Yeah. It's happens a lot with Stephen King. Like, for example, Salem's Lot. That was like it was a mini series that was eventually edited into a full-length feature-length movie. But it was like a 40 page or something. It was a short. It was part of a collection of stories. I think it wasn't its own feature like full-length novel. So there was a lot of stuff that had to be drawn out, and ironically, I think the 2004 version, they did a better job, but most people are going to rip my head off over that.
Yeah. I'm going to say one more, and then I think we have learned our lesson about remaking books and TV series, and that is Game of Thrones, which I've read all the books, and I thought they did really well. To a point till like season 5 or to season 6, and then obviously season 7 was hot garbage. But I feel like George R.R. Martin being on the set and it following pretty closely to the books, to the best of my recollection, they did a good job with that. But there are a number of writers whose books get turned into movies who hate them. Like the ones that I can really think of specifically is Alan Moore, who wrote Watchmen and V for Vendetta, 2 of my favorite movies of all time.
Love both of those
and
movies.
2 of my favorite books of all time. And I thought they were pretty close. There were some changes in the movie version, but Watchmen, I almost feel like the ending of Watchmen, the movie, was better than the ending of Watchmen in the book. Yeah. And he very much hates the movies and doesn't want to be associated with them at all.
To switch from other people's stuff and bring it back around, how often, or does it not happen at all, where you write your stuff and then when you film it you're like, I hate this, or like what you envisioned it originally, you just cannot scratch that itch in your head. Does that ever happen to you?
I hate pretty much everything I write.
Thank God, goodness, because the first time I watched KARANORMAL, I'm like, this is fucking awful. And now by like the 3rd or 4th like complete playthrough, I'm like, actually, I think we did a pretty good job.
Nice.
Now, I tend to like the things that I've written that come out that when we get them into finished film form. But yeah, when it comes to like when I'm actually writing in the moment, it just doesn't... It comes together in my head, but when I look at it on the page, there's almost some kind of cognitive dissonance here. I've got a script I'm working on right now that I've been essentially fighting for 6 months over 2 sequences, and the rest of the script is complete. And it's like, both are incredibly important sequences, but both are incredibly boring if they're done wrong. One is a court sequence, and one is a therapy sequence. Both of which need to be done to get a point across because they're super important to the film. But I'm not going to sit here and show the whole court proceeding like it's a Law & Order episode, because that'll take my runtime up to 3.5 hours, and it's boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hate that part of it. And he's very little help with it.
Yeah. I mean, I can say that McCoolname I have rewritten and rescripted and all write-in jokes. I just think I'm hilarious. Fun fact, the first draft is absolutely like the pinnacle of writing. All the edits and stuff after that is pain. Absolute pain. Because you go through it and you're like, do I even deserve to do this? After rereading your stuff, 6 months down the road or 2 months down the road, whatever it may be. So with McCoolname, I'll get there. I'll see the joke play out before my eyes, and I'll be like, that was shit.
Yeah, fuck.
Crap. All right, so how can we do this better?
Sure.
So actually, fun fact about McCoolname, when we had the fire, I just rewrote certain parts of the script I didn't like because I had seen it.
Right. Yeah. No, that's funny. And do you guys ever butt heads with each other about creative direction or plot points? Yeah.
Yeah. That's what makes us good working together, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually I just end up getting sick of it and letting him do whatever he wants.
Ha.
That's why I like it.
I think that's what happens to Dave when I make suggestions. Eventually.
Unless I'm really digging my feet in, then I'm like, no, you're not gonna fucking change this. Most of them I'm like, whatever, do it. But I remember with this movie, there was a few things where I was just like, no,
Yeah,
absolutely
sure.
not.
And he was right. He was right for sure about those decisions, I think. And but there were definitely mostly it was really just like small dialogue changes that I wanted to make that I felt would make the conversations a little bit more fluid and a little bit more natural. But for the most part, it was perfect, good. But yeah, I wasn't going to go on any big changes. Mostly, I just wanted to cut things because I was like, this movie's going to be fucking way more than what I'm prepared or able to do right now. But it ended up working out. It was great.
Yes. We joke about it a lot, but there was in the editing process before we shot, there was actually one particular word that I enjoyed that I used a couple times in the film. That word being critters. Okay, and we just had a big old argument about that word.
Nobody says fucking critters anymore, Dave.
And every time I see that word in like the public sphere, I make sure to point it out to him or whoever's standing
nearby,
around.
yeah.
Like we shot one of our last films at this house, or one of the last scenes at this house, and as we walked in, like there was this bag, and it was just called. It was like it was called Critter Killer, and I was just like, oh look, Critter.
Yeah, right.
Critter's on the bag, you son of a bitch.
That was like one of many strange coincidences about our set location that we got. That I'll probably talk about at the premiere. I don't really want to talk about them right now, but there were a number of things that were like strangely coincidental about this set and about us being there, which I thought was really cool and fun because it is like a suspense horror thriller movie. So it's like, I don't know, were we supposed to be here? Is somebody putting this stuff here? Is somebody fucking with us? I don't fucking know. But yeah, it was cool and it worked out great. And we used at least 2 of the coincidences like in the film. Like they got added into the film during production, or used in some way in production, which I thought was really fun and cool.
Maybe a little serendipitous.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But yeah.
We had a paranormal experience on The Boogeyman.
Did we?
Yeah, well, not on. It was nothing that came up until the edit came out, where it was that scene where was the scene where Mike DeRita busts in and tells Dana Falco about two of the main characters. That his brother had been taken by Pinnacle and whatnot, and then they have that whole thing where I hurt my hand slapping that ammo canister across the room.
Which, by the way, people really like that.
That I almost broke my hand on that.
Well, they don't know that part, but
Yeah. No, it was off. Most of that was ad lib too. But when we were doing the edit on that, it was just the 2 of us in there, and there was nobody else in the back or anything like that. It was just the 2 of us doing the scene, the lights, whatnot. And the reason why nobody else was in there because it was like 102 degrees because it was in the middle of summer with these lights that burn hotter than Satan's ass. And so we were in there doing the scene. And when I was sitting there in the edit, I kept hearing this little blip in the audio between where we were talking. And I'm just like, the hell is that? And I finally brought it up. And there's this, I can't remember exactly what she said. I do have the audio clip still. Our main character, Dana, delivers a line, and then my character delivers a line, and she leans in to kiss me on the cheek. And when she's doing that and there's silence in the scene, you just hear a staticky voice somewhere in the background going, oh, yeah.
Nice.
Was it the ghost of Macho Man Randy Savage?
So no idea. There was nobody else in there to see that. Yeah, well, you might have been in there. I'm not sure. I don't think you were.
no, I was
you were
outside.
You were
I was
outside, yeah.
I was the smart one who's like, hey, I wrote this thing, you do everything else.
There you go.
Yep.
That's like Dave's role. Except I got him to be he was the clacker.
Yeah.
The official title is clacker.
Clapboard?
Yeah. No, and he did a great job. And he made sure that we didn't miss anything, too. That was, like, the other important part, was making sure that we did not miss any scenes, which we ended up missing anyway. So, whatever. Good job, Dave.
Oh,
No.
we missed a whole suite of scenes on the Boogeyman, but it wasn't our fault.
Yeah.
we had to sub it in for, I think, what might be his least favorite thing that ever got filmed.
Yeah, we had to put someone or something in there. So I had this idea of showing, like, the post-apocalyptic landscape of this little settlement, and I had, like, 50-some people who were all RSVP'd. Yeah, I'll be there. One person in New Jersey came. 49 people from Warren didn't.
What?
Guess which one's closer?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. So we built that. That was a whole big set, too. We built a tent city, essentially, for that. And
Sweet.
we were able to show that off, but, man, did I have to put some stuff together in the edit. And our one extra who came all the way from New Jersey exists in one little scene. You can't see his face or anything. He
Poor
just walks
Trevor.
directly in front of the camera.
Poor Trevor. That's all he got. That's all we could do because everything had to be so tight.
That's a struggle, but that's part of like working through it in like film production in general. If there weren't problems or if it was easy, everybody would do it. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I
everybody
wouldn't know
thinks
what
they
to
can
do
do
if
it.
it wasn't a complete fucking mess.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'd feel like something was missing.
Language. Don't say words like that.
Oh shit, I'm
Mess.
sorry.
Mess.
No, it's good, and I think it's fun to work through those challenges. And thank God we had like the crew that we did on these on KARANORMAL, because a lot of these problems, I do not have the wherewithal or the knowledge base to be able to fix some of the problems that we encountered. You know what I mean? Like, thank God we had a great sound guy. Thank God Jesse James was out there to light us up and make sure everything was looking good and do all the other things that he did out there. He's like a one-man crew. It was crazy.
The real MVP.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things I think that we have a strong base for in MAW as well. And I'm going to use air quotes here. Strong. Like, I love our sound guy. It's me. I like our guy that does our special effects, all the CGI and stuff. It's me. I like the guy who does most of the directing. He's pretty cool. It's me. I like the guy who sets up the light. It's me.
Yeah.
That's essentially, and that's kind of the issue. He knows I get burnt out because I'm the guy who wears basically all the hats. And
Sure.
it's not a unique case. That's just how it is in the indie film scene.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I definitely would like to see improve as we improve, I guess I should say.
Yeah,
Is
find new people.
Yeah, we need to have people come do some of this stuff so I don't have to do it all.
Yeah.
We've got
No,
a very
I totally
loyal
get it.
cast, but
Yeah, our cast
crew
our cast has been great in every single project, and the crew that we have is great.
Yeah.
We just don't have enough of them.
No, for sure. I totally get it. And we were incredibly fortunate to have the crew that we had in this one, because like we wouldn't have been able to make it without Matt or without Jesse. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't have all got done in that weekend, or we would have been working like even later into the night than we were multiple nights. And
Who's Jesse?
Jesse James.
Okay. I was going to say, I know a Jesse in the film business, too, who I could also say is we wouldn't have been able to do a lot of things if it wasn't for Jesse.
Yeah.
So-
Well, Jesse's a good name in the film industry then. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was fantastic. He let us use his camera. Well, he operated the second camera for us. He brought in out a bunch of lights. He brought out like big shaders and stuff for the windows so we could make it look like it was nighttime during the day. He brought a bunch of stuff out there.
Wonderful.
Right? And he has this really nice like camera trolley or whatever. I forget what it's called. It has a cool name, but it's like little wheels that the camera sits on so it can slide.
A dolly?
around. Yeah,
A dolly.
Little camera dolly that was really sweet and helped us like just upgrade our like, because anybody can like point a camera at something and take a video, but making it look cinematic and making it look dramatic is something that he really helped carry us in for sure.
Yeah, it's one of the big equipment upgrades that I'm working on. Apart from a lens kit, where we have one lens that survived the fire that we needed an adapter for the new camera. Works really well, but for some reason the adapter was built with the electronic pass-throughs on the wrong side, so they're on the opposite side of the lens.
Okay.
So, like the iris and stuff, you can't control that, and that means a lot of indoor stuff is kind of underexposed. And we're using a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K, which doesn't do post-processing and stuff in the camera already. So what you're getting is a raw image that needs all the correction and stuff, which is fine. One of the upgrades in regards to camera implements that I'm planning to make here. I'm really looking to upgrade our studio with a steady cam.
Yeah.
And hopefully an operator, because if there's a video feed, you can look at Adam and you can look at me. Neither of us are fitting in the vest. So
No, that sounds awesome. As far as like our next big upgrade goes, I need a second camera. I got my Sony A7 IV, so I'm kind of stuck on Sony right now because I have all the lenses for them. So my next one will probably be like a FX3 or an AC2 or a A7C2, one of those cameras. But we shot with that camera, and Jesse brought his Blackmagic Ursa, so like big fucking camera out to shoot with, and he had I need to get one of these like big screens for him and all that shit, and he had a screen that I could use. It was amazing. It makes such an incredible difference too. Like that's generally fine for photography, but if I'm shooting video like I really need like a big screen like we were using. And I got my
that's one thing that's nice about the Pocket Cinema. It's got a nice monitor built in.
Right.
We're working on a gig, trying to get a gig right now. I won't go into details here. If we do get it, it'll pay us well enough that I'm actually going to buy a Blackmagic Ursa, the new, I think it's a 17K or whatever their new one has.
Right.
And because I'm at this point, I've become a Blackmagic shill. They've pretty much filled the void for. I was Panasonic and Sony at one point too. We had a Sony FS100 at one point. That was during my college years. That was a good little camera.
Yeah, I mean the A7 IV does great. It gets a little hot, but I got a fan for it. It works.
Yours too?
Yeah.
That's the thing. The Blackmagic has like exhaust vents, vents and stuff on it too. And I was just like, wow. Talk about
no, it's
moving parts.
It's nice and it's good to have. The FX3 comes with fans all built in. It's just a requirement, and if you're doing like long shoots or extended shoots or anything like that. But it was great. I got a gimbal too, which is really fun too. We got some cool shots with that, and it was really fun. Color matching was not super fun, and it's not super perfect, and certain scenes bother me more than others, but
I wouldn't know. I see in black and white.
You might still know because it's really that camera takes like really bright, vivid colors and a lot of glare, and it picks up a lot of light. And that one, I probably should have set my color profile a little bit differently than I did for shooting, because his is in B-RAW Blackmagic, and obviously you need to bring the fidelity and all the colors up, so I have to bring, and we're going for like a high contrast, or no, like a low contrast look, a little bit faded, a little bit cool, so I have to bring his levels, all his colors way up, and I have to bring mine way down to try and meet somewhere in the middle, and then cool everything off as far as coloring goes. So that's been its own bit of a challenge, and I've taken a little break from it, and I'm going to come back to it probably this weekend here, and get those colors synced up a little bit better and looking a little bit better. But yeah, that's its own.
Partly why we don't just buy cameras willy-nilly. I very much preach, if we're going to do multiple cameras, we've got to do, if it's not the same camera, like I'd like to get another Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K as well. I like to keep things matched to the manufacturer specifically for that reason, because it makes things so much easier versus for a long time we were back in the college days we had a Panasonic GH2 and that Sony FS100, and the image quality and stuff was comparable. The FS100 was a little better, but the color space, which I could still see back then, was not.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly. Same thing with why I would probably get like a FX3 or an A7C2 as far as like a second camera goes, because I really like the pictures that takes and the colors and all the stuff that it does.
I do too. You showed me some of them.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, gear's always a problem. Not really a problem, but it's definitely, you can never have enough. You know what I mean? I didn't realize I would have like a serious gear addiction problem when we started a podcast. Yeah, I bought some like bare bones stuff, and now I got like, you know, I forget the right word, like the cutting edge A7 IV, you know what I mean? The flagship camera DSLR from Sony, and a big 12-track mixer and microphones and a DJI Air 3 drone and all of these other things that we have to get to try and make things, or to like satisfy that need in my head that I have to make things, you know what I mean? And have them look a certain way.
Do Do you ever make like a bunch of upgrades across the board and then realize the upgrades are harder to use?
Oh, yeah. This soundboard for sure
So
was one of them.
I was just looking at your soundboard because we lost all the sound equipment we had in the fire, and when we replaced it with a whole lot of technically better stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of getting a bunch of portable recorders, which like Tascam DR100s or DR60s,
That's actually what we recorded. Oh, no, not a Tascam, but I have a Zoom P4 on the shelf behind you, which is what we used basically to record all of our audio on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I bought a 32-channel soundboard, and we run that. The thing about it is when that's the only thing on set, it's like, oh, cool. This is not as mobile as I'd like it to be.
Long cords.
Yeah.
Long
it's like
cords.
you can't just pick this up and carry it around. It's got to be on a cart and
Right.
stuff.
Well, as far as sound goes, my next thing is going to be like a Shure wireless setup and some lavalier mics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I can make good recommendations on those. That was our big upgrade with the lav mics, which we had to buy twice because we upgraded the sound, everything in the sound.
Before.
Yep, and the fire happened a week later, and then we had to proceed to rebuy all of it because I was under contract with that exact equipment for a feature film.
Wow.
Luckily, the pay I got from the feature film covered it, but covered part of it. Tammy, she's over there, right there,
hidden away. We see you, Tammy.
Yeah. Because she was used to be a part owner of the company. She's retired actually since then.
Cool. Congratulations, Tammy.
I ended up having to make up the difference so I wasn't in breach of contract because we needed the payout, especially me at that time. So, but so.
Yeah, sound is definitely its own entirely different animal. And our sound guy, Matt Bolin, he just opened up his own production studio. He does a lot of recording for local musicians and stuff like that. But this was his first time doing like a almost feature. Because it's a short film, technically. It's like 45 minutes, probably 50 with the end credits on there. So it's like right on the cusp there.
Was that KARANORMAL?
KARANORMAL, yeah. And he did all the sound for that, and he's never really done like a big feature either. This was everybody's like first shot at this.
Besides Jesse,
who does film stuff all the time as a pro. And I think Adele has been in a number of different films, but this was Colleen, our leading lady's first film. I don't know if this was Matt's first film or not. It might have been. It was definitely ours, but yeah, I'm really glad he was there and that he's able to do all the sound and mixing. I'm almost a little bit jealous of it too, though, because I kind of want to work on the sound a little bit and do like special effects and Foley sounds and add a soundtrack and stuff like that. But it was the right move just because he's so much more well versed in sound than I am. I mean, we've recorded a little bit down here. I mean, we record a podcast. We've recorded a song, and but I've never done a film. And our audio, our unedited raw audio, sounds pretty decent for the most part. But I know that like hidden inside there is like perfect sounding audio that he will be able to unlock in a better way than I would be able to. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's a nice thing about working at a music conservatory. Warren Music Conservatory. Shout out. Woo! Anyway, so I work there. I live above it now, so it's nice, easy commute. Sure. That's the one thing that's nice over this past winter. We put in a recording studio that's all together. Everything put together in that recording studio probably came to about $100,000 worth of stuff.
Yeah,
and the whole building's actually controllable. It's like a nerve center, so all of the different rooms have live recording setups in them, so the orchestra or whatever can get recorded as well.
Sure.
But it's a nice thing about working down there is we have access to it as long as I stay in good graces with my employer, which I do.
Yeah, of course.
So. We have access to that recording studio for things too, and that's definitely going to help because with that also comes things like access to the portable sound recorders. So I don't have to buy my own; I'll just grab them off the shelf from there.
Yeah, that's
and
nice.
we have a film program there too. By the way, I'm the teacher of it. That's
cool.
That's why I work there.
Yeah, nice.
So that's why we have all that stuff. But it's nice to have access to it because that way it's like I'll just grab stuff off the shelf when I need it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Much cheaper than buying tons of gear. For sure.
I'm still going to buy the gear.
Oh yeah,
because
I mean,
I have a goal to eventually have it on the shelves, and then we'll rent it out to other production companies.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Trying to diversify a bit in the future, and that's one of the strategies.
For sure.
Yes.
That's the
And
word.
Got it.
I think that's really important too to like new people that don't have access to that stuff yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that can be a huge barrier. You know. Luckily, like we were able to crowdfund and raise a bunch of money and get some new things. And
You'll have to give us some tips. We've tried to crowdfund before, but we suck at it.
oh man, it was
Mr.
a huge
Salesman
grind.
over here.
You know what I credit the crowdfunding success to though? This fucking podcast. For real.
Oh, yeah?
Because
Nice.
through having this podcast, we were able to meet so many different people, so many different business owners, and build all these like positive connections and network, and people see us and people recognize us and know us and believe that they can like trust us to give us their money and that they will end up with a finished product. You know what I mean? So whether we sold T-shirts, we sold tickets to the premiere, we sold posters, we sold all sorts of stuff in this crowdfunder. And I think having that level of trust with our community and our fans and our supporters and a great bunch of friends and family that all want to see us do fun things and live our dreams and whatnot, we had a huge success. I mean, we didn't raise a ton of money, but we raised enough money to pay for the set, to pay for our food, to pay for any equipment we needed, costumes, and we definitely had to buy some costumes. I mean, our cops look fucking fantastic.
Yeah, they look
And we showed pictures of those on Facebook and everybody, so everybody knows there's cops in there, and they looked fucking amazing. I was just like thinking about that earlier today. I was talking with some buddies, and yeah, our cops look great. We got a car. We got a bunch of different. We got the set, bunch of different things, it's amazing how much a little can go a long way, and hopefully this film is good enough that way next time we want to make a film and we need money for it and want to do a crowdfunder, people will want to give us more money, or more people will want to get active and involved, and it'll kind of continue to snowball a little bit. You know what I mean? That's the goal. I think, that's always the goal with any business, is for it to grow and for people to see and experience it and understand that it's a good thing and want to invest and put more money and time and effort into it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what Awesome McCoolname is for us, essentially, just exactly as you described. It's we got to get this thing done so that we can show investors and whatnot what we can do. And then we also have the added challenge now of having to show the investors, hey, so here's what we can do again.
Yeah.
Sorry about the first time, investors, but we got
It'll
it this
be
time.
better.
Yeah.
It'll be better this time.
Right. And at least that, like the fire and stuff, is like out of your control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
mean, it still feels pretty bad to have to tell people, hey, all that was kind of a waste of time. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
No, we really didn't have investors the first time. We had some cast and crew that were like integral to the creation of it, on the money side of things. They built stuff. Thankfully, none of that burnt. All of that was somewhere else. So
Good.
I still have all of it, and it's just a matter of making it again. It's just the momentum to get back up there on that horse and just keep going on something you already did once can be a lot. But
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's just always hard, especially after you're dealt a blow like that. That could have easily ended MAW Filmworks.
I
yeah,
thought
it's-
it had.
MAW Filmworks has came back from the brink several times.
Yeah.
And it's mostly because of Tammy. She's right there. She's over there.
Hiding away. We'll get her on the next podcast, maybe.
There we go.
She'll
we're
see
doing
we
another
aren't so
one?
scary.
We're doing another one? Hey,
Sometime, eventually, right?
yeah.
I'm game. I'm down.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Yeah, whenever your guys' next big thing is coming out, we'd love to have you on. You know
I
what I mean?
will-
Promote and share and.
I will say one thing I will promote on here is a film called Judge Not. It's made by a group down in Katanning. The director is Aaron Dunbar.
It's the film I was contracted for the sound on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so he was contracted to do sound for it. It is the sole reason why we were able to get ourselves in a position where we could come back from the fire.
Right.
So if it wasn't for him, and then Tammy, of course.
Where is
I don't-
Tammy?
Right there.
Oh,
She's
okay.
over- she's over there.
Still there.
Pointed at
Got
the
her.
cat.
So we're kind of we kind of have this comedic thing we do, not just us, but we basically force it on everybody at the studio too.
Yeah.
Very repetitive. You should hear the Star Wars Episode 1, the Phantom Menace bit sometime.
Ooh. We just went and watched that at the theaters when it came out for May the 4th. 4th be with you. Me and my girlfriend,
yeah.
we both have Star Wars tattoos.
Am I the only one who likes the first episode of the prequels the best
See,
out of the prequels?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yes.
Might be the
I
only
love the prequels, but episode 1 is probably my least favorite. Of
Oh,
the
I like
prequels.
episode 1, episode 3. Yeah, you could say I don't
Episode
usually
2 and
watch
3 are my favorites of
I don't
all
usually
the Star Wars.
I don't usually watch
Okay.
2. I can't stand 2. I love Revenge of the Sith is probably it's not my favorite of the series, but definitely that
See,
prequel
the
trilogy.
originals will always trump everything, but I remember being in theaters in '99. Jar Jar was laughed at. It wasn't taken too seriously when Duel of the Fates first aired, and you've got the double-bladed lightsaber. Everyone's hooting and hollering. It's
Right.
the loudest theater I've ever been in, except for one, and that was episode 2 when Yoda.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my
Loud
god,
as
yeah, they
lightsaber.
tearing
remember
it up, dude. I feel it. I loved it. I love that series. And I love Anakin Skywalker's character arc throughout that whole thing. And Obi-Wan and Padme, all incredible. I love
Very,
Star Wars.
very few characters I can say. I'd say that, in my opinion, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, probably has my favorite and, in my opinion, the best character arc in cinema.
Yeah.
Unless we want to count Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man in there. That's another pretty good one. Wolverine.
Yeah.
Wolverine's a good
Wolverine,
one.
sure. I mean, there's tons of great arcs. I think the first one that immediately pops in my head, though, is definitely like Anakin. He's
Me
by,
too. That's the
by
one I
far
think
my
of.
favorite.
Yeah.
Well, MAW Filmworks. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram, all the socials.
Oh, yeah.
You guys got YouTube channel, yeah? Where
yeah.
they can watch the stuff?
Yep.
Yeah.
Check it all out. Find their links, find their pages, give them a like, give them a follow. They're super cool guys. We had a great time hanging out today.
It was fun.
Thank you guys for coming out.
Thanks
And,
very much.
Thanks to all our sponsors, all the people who watched. Y'all are amazing. Thanks for helping us live our dreams and do our thing out here. Peace out.
I just thumbed up the television there.